Welcome to the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. Now enjoy the show. All right, guys, I want to tell you a little bit about Type 1 Lifting. So Type 1 Lifting is a clothing brand that proceeds of the shirts, the hats, and everything else go to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. This whole t-shirt company started from me taking care of a 5-year-old girl from the emergency department at the Children's Hospital I worked at in Atlanta for a while back. I thought I needed to do a little bit more than kind of just talk about my story. So this is how I started the clothing line, because I wanted to show people that even though diabetics have this really bad disease, we can still do amazing things in our life, and diabetes won't stop us reaching our goals. So go check out type1lifting.com. And, if you have any questions, you can always reach me out on Instagram. It's Type1Lifting, and hope you guys enjoy the show. Hey guys, we have a new sponsor for the Type 1 Lifting podcast. The company's called Liberté Lifestyle. So Liberté is a French word meaning freedom, and the company was founded on the desire to have freedom to choose what we want to do with our lives. I actually had the owner, Nicole, on my podcast on episode 28. So if you want to go back and listen to her, she talks about how she started the company and what she wants to do in the future with the company, which is pretty cool. So they actually have knee sleeves, wrist wraps, shirts, shorts. Love the knee sleeves. I have the ice cream knee sleeves and I love them so much. The neoprene's still good. The seams haven't split compared to other knee sleeves that I have had in the past. And I'm planning to keep these for a very, very long time. So Nicole actually gave me a promo code for you guys too. So it's all capital letters, TYPE and the number 1. So it's Type 1. So go to libertelifestyle.com, check out what they have in the store, use the promo code Type 1 and save some coin. Now let's go to the episode. All right, guys, welcome to a new episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I actually have also a physical therapist and a CrossFit athlete, Taylor Streid. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. Thank you for doing this, by the way. I really do appreciate you taking the time to, sit down and chat with me. So I was reading up a little bit, and we actually have something in common.
Oh, yeah?
So we have actually run up Blue Hills.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a little backstory. I used to live in Sharon, which is like 2 towns over from where Blue Hills is. And so I would go up that, like hiking, mountain biking, and we would definitely go up that little hill that you guys did when you were work training and comp train.
I would say it's not a little hill.
True.
Maybe we can say a little mountain, because it's really not a mountain, but it's not a little hill.
Yeah. It's funny. Like they try to make it into like a ski resort kind of deal, like a ski hill. And it's just like, literally you're down in like 2 seconds, but they don't realize like the summertime, like you try to run up that thing and it just takes forever.
Yeah, no, it's like St. Louis has an area kind of like that too. And I joked after I did that, I was like, oh, we should go out to, it's called Hidden Valley. We should go out to Hidden Valley sometime. But I don't think anyone bid on that offer. So,
so you went up Blue Hills like 3 times, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 or 4 times. I don't know. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was honestly one of those first, that was so it was 2019 and I qualified for the CrossFit Games, and I followed comp train at the time, and they were having a comp train camp for everyone that made the games. And so the girls for comp train were like Katrin, Amanda Barnhart, Brooke Wells, and like myself. And I was like, oh, like no big deal. I'm just here with these like awesome games athletes. And it was one of those things where I got my ass handed to me the entire weekend. It was like a week. And the whole time I was just like getting beat down. But that was one of those things where I wasn't good at the short sprints, but I actually beat a lot of the girls. I beat 2 of the 3 other girls on running all the way up. And I was like, oh, this is actually one thing that I felt very accomplished in doing. So
nice.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I kind of want to get into like your earlier part of life. So I was doing some research on you. So you went to high school and you were a pole vaulter and a cheerleader?
I swam, and then
swam too,
swimming was my main sport. And really growing up, I did everything. Like my mom was great. I played basketball and volleyball and soccer, and I quickly realized ball sports were really not my forte. And I'm athletic. I'm just not coordinated. I don't know if that's like the best way to put it, but so I was swimming and summer swimming, and the coach was like a year-round coach, and he's like, she really needs to swim year-round. And my mom was like, she plays way too many sports to swim year-round. And so, but after I started like riding the bench in basketball and stuff, I was like, this isn't fun anymore. So I was like, I'll try swimming. I like, started doing that a couple days a week, and that was maybe like 7th grade.
Mhm.
And I love to tumble. I still love to tumble. I love to go to a gymnastics gym and just the floor. I never did like beam vault, bars, anything like that. But so that kind of fell into cheerleading, and then I honestly was just looking. So swimming in high school was a fall sport. Cheerleading, I cheered basketball, so I was winter, and I was just looking for something to do in the spring. And I went out for track, and the track coach was like, "Wow, you have really big shoulders. Like you should try pole vaulting." And so solely just because I had swimmer shoulders, and I could do pull-ups and things like that, which a lot of high school girls can't necessarily do that. So
Mhm.
kind of fell into pole vaulting as well, which was cool.
Yeah. How did you get the fear out of like being up in the air on just like leaning on a pole?
Honestly, I was that kid that was always doing stupid things growing up. My mom would tell you I was probably upside down or climbing something more often than I wasn't. So, um, I really probably wasn't ever fearful of it. It was more like it just took a while to get the technique down, and then once you got that down, it was much, much easier. But I don't think I was ever super fearful of it. I think I honestly would love to go try it now, just because I'm so much stronger that I
Mhm.
think it'd be cool to see like what I could do. So,
Yeah, that'd be really cool to see that. So maybe you could go to the Olympics for the pole vault.
oh gosh, no, I'm not that good. I don't know if
S-
I have the dedication to be that like to pick up a whole new sport right now. I'm too old for that.
well, you're not old. I'm
I know
42,
I'm not
so
old, but
yeah, I'm 42. Like I pick up new sports here and there, so
yeah, yeah.
it's all in
So
good fun. But and then after high school, you were and you became a collegiate swimmer too. So where did you go to school?
I went to St. Louis University, and I swam there for 4 years. Honestly, like I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to swim going into college. I knew it was like an option, right? But like I
Hmm.
was going to all these big schools and um, doing like recruiting trips, and it's one of those things where it's like you won't be as like on the travel team for maybe you won't be on the travel team your freshman year. If you get fast enough, maybe will your sophomore year, junior year, we'll let you travel with us, even whatever. And I was like, I mean, swimming is like the least the like you don't ride the bench in swimming, you know what I mean? So to me, I was kind of like, I don't know, like it doesn't seem like the best fit for me. I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do, but I was thinking physical therapy, and I just kind of realized like I'm not going to be an Olympic swimmer. Like I was a great swimmer, but I was never going to be an Olympic swimmer. So
Hmm.
SLU worked out really well. They had a freshman entry physical therapy program, so I did 3 years of undergrad and then 3 years of grad school. I just went straight through and was able to swim like all 4 years for my collegiate eligibility there, and it was just like it worked out extremely well from that standpoint. And I was kind of a big fish in a small pond, but it was cool too. So
Yeah. What were the distances that you like doing?
I was a 200 swimmer. So if you like compare that in running, it's kind of like the 800.
Okay. Okay.
So mid distance. I was definitely not a 50 sprinter. I'm definitely not a 100-meter sprinter either in track, but I could do the hundreds and swimming, but that's more like a 400. It's kind of a little bit longer distance. But 200s was my sweet spot.
Okay. So do you, I've talked to a bunch of CrossFit athletes and I've had some of them say that like swimming kind of helped them get into CrossFit and become a better CrossFit athlete. Do you think that like, swimming transitions over pretty well to CrossFit?
Yeah, I do. I honestly think it's gymnastics I think is the best sport to transition over, but like swimming, I did my intro class to CrossFit, and they had, sorry, there's a tail, my cat is up
No,
here.
you're good. You're good. Don't worry about it.
So I did my intro class to CrossFit, and they had 10 pull-ups at the end of it, and I like I couldn't do 10 unbroken, but I could do 10 pull-ups, and I remember them being like, they're like, before they're like, oh, you can scale, you can do ring rows, you can do this. And I was like, no, I can do pull-ups. And they're like, really? Can you actually do them? And I did them, and they were like, oh, they're like, that's not normal. most girls can't do 10 pull-ups. And I was like, oh, like I just didn't know any different. It was one of those things where I was like, I've just always been able to do pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a huge thing, just having that lat strength and, you know, ability to do that. But then on top of that, just knowing how to breathe. You know, when you're swimming, you're constantly breathing against a lot of external forces in the water, and you don't necessarily recognize that until, like, you know, I am doing a long workout and like I understand how to like settle myself down and bring, you know, kind of get my breathing under control, because I always did it in swimming. You're always technically holding your breath in swimming, or, you know, exhaling or whatever. So I think that was a huge, just an easy transition for those kind of things.
Okay. And when do you start CrossFit in college, or was it after?
So I finished swimming in like the end of February. Oh, sorry, end of February, my 4th year. And I started running right away, and I was like, this is extremely boring. I wasn't enjoying it. And I'm so competitive. I was constantly trying to run faster. So I'd be like, oh, you know, I'm gonna try to run 7-10 miles, and I'm like, I'm dying. This is awful. And I had no idea how to actually train any sort of way besides swim.
Mm-hmm.
But then someone knew I loved weight room at CrossFit, and so they're like, why don't you try, or weight room and swimming? So like, why don't you try CrossFit? And it just like was a perfect fit. So I started in May of technically my senior year of college, and then I did it through grad school. So.
Okay. Were they pretty impressed for like the first week, like onboarding on ramp program?
Yeah. And like, so we had done, I had learned how to snatch and learned how to like clean and jerk in college. And granted, I think the heaviest snatch I ever did was like 85 pounds. So it wasn't like, I mean, that's still, you know, good weight, but it wasn't anything like crazy, but I
Mhm.
knew how to do it. And so that was huge, just having like, I didn't have to learn all the basics.
Yeah. When did you realize you were like getting really good at CrossFit?
Um, so I started in 2013. In 2014, the regionals, our gym we were trying to make a team, and regionals that year, you had to be able to do handstand walking, and you had to be able to do ring muscle ups. And there was like it wasn't cuts, but you would get like time capped in a workout if you couldn't do those things.
Hmm.
And so I made the regionals team. I wasn't as strong as the other girls there, but I could do those two things. And, you know, there was only 3 girls that could do those, and I was one of them. So I realized I was like good at that point. I was good at the gymnastics part of it, but I realized I needed to be a lot stronger. And so after that, it was kind of when I started to like focus on it. And then 2016 is when I made regionals individually the first time. And I mean, I was obviously trying to make regionals, but it was kind of like I got top 20 from North Central, made it. I was 22nd. So, you know, a couple girls went team, and I got in there, and I was in the first heat the first day. And I did, that was the year they did regionals Nate. So it was like strict muscle ups, strict handstand push-ups, and kettlebell snatches.
Yep. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I like somehow got fourth on that workout at regionals. And so like I went home that night, and I was like, oh, like, because, you know, I was like, I'm just going to have fun, and it's just going to be a great time and whatever. And I got fourth in that. That was the second workout, and I was like, oh, like I actually wanted like really compete at this. You know, that's when I was like, I can hang with these big girls. Granted, that was the only workout. I mean, I think I ended up like 20th that year, so I still did really well for, you know, being a rookie and really having no kind of idea what I was getting myself into. But
Hmm.
that was when I was like, I'm good enough to be here. Like, let's go.
Yeah. So when you were at your first regionals, were you like looking left and right and you're like, oh my gosh, I got this person, you know, and this
I
person over here?
No, I honestly, so since I did so well in that workout, and that was the year Brooke Wells was not good at strict muscle ups. And so the second day I was in the third heat. There was 4 heats. I was in the third heat. Brooke Wells was on my right, and Julie Fouché was on my left. And like, it was one of those things, like, I was like, this is so cool. You know, like I was, like I said, I really didn't have any expectations going into that weekend. So the fact I was there was awesome.
Yeah. So when did you start, like when did you realize like I need to start doing like getting a coach, and like when did comp train come about?
That was after 2016. So
Okay.
I was kind of just like, I was kind of following like comp train a little bit before regionals, but then I just kind of started like, you know, oh, that workout looks fun. I'm going to do that one too. And oh, I really like that. And then I just was like, okay, like if I actually want to do this, like I need to sit down and follow a program. I can't just be like randomly cherry picking workouts. So like, oh, I really like to do handstand push-ups. I'm going to do 3 workouts a week with handstand push-ups, you know?
Yep.
So that was kind of when I was like, I've got to focus.
Okay. Okay. So, what has like Ben Bergeron like helped you throughout your training? Like, what has he done to make you become a better athlete?
I think from his standpoint, it was probably more like the mentality aspect and like kind of realizing, you know, like what can I control, what can't I control, you know, what is my ability, not what is everyone else's ability, and like learning myself more than anything. And not really, you know, I was obviously physically very fit, but like mentally kind of needed to become a little bit tougher and a little bit smarter. Um, and you know, that's one of those things. You know, so I didn't actually work with Ben Bergeron really at all. When I in 2019, like 2018, 2019, so I got 7th in regionals in 2018, and I was like, I really like want to make the games, and I wanted to make the games that year too, obviously. So then I started talking, like kind of like messaging them on the like what Sugar WOD, whatever app it's
Yep.
on, and you know, talking, like asking like substitutions or like, hey, how should I do this or whatever. And then I was talking with like Harry Polly a lot. And so he was kind of like my coach. But once I competed at Wadapalooza and stuff, then he was the one I was like actually really like talking to. And he was kind of helping me like, you know, it's hard because I work full time. And that was
Yeah.
kind of one of those things like, you give me all this programming and I can't do it all. And I actually learned that in 2017. So after 2016, I was like, I'm going to do all comp train, everything, every day. And what I don't get in, I'm going to squeeze it on the weekends and, you know, all of this stuff. And I really was just overtrained because I was working 40 plus hours a week. And actually at 2017 regionals, I broke my first rib, which is kind of like a freak thing. Like it usually happens in like car accidents with like a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Or the other 2 things are gymnastics or weightlifters where that it might happen. So, you know, that was one of those things like I learned in 2017. I was like, I gotta scale back. Like I can't keep, you know, doing this much. And so that was kind of in 2019, like Harry was like, okay, this stuff is really important that you should get in. Like this is what you need. If you have time, do this and then skip this, you know? So
Hmm.
is learning for myself that quality over quantity, you know?
Hmm. Now, what's your since you do have a 40-hour job, so what's your typical like how do you manage like how many hours do you work like every day, work out every day? Like what's the schedule look like for you?
So I've kind of a pretty similar schedule for the past probably like 4 or 5 years. So I work early Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I work like 6 to 2 to 3.
Hmm.
And then Tuesday, Thursday, I work 12 to 7. So um Mondays and Wednesdays I go to the gym after work. Tuesdays I go before work, and then Thursdays is usually like depending on the time of the year. Like right now I'm running. Before I was doing like a C2 bike, you know, thing, just depending the weather outside. Something, you know, aerobic, and then
Yep.
Fridays and Saturdays are my bigger training days.
Okay.
Um, but honestly, like Monday and Wednesday, I spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in the gym. Tuesday morning is like an hour and a half. And like I said, then Friday and Saturday are longer days. You know, we kind of actually switched it up these past 2 years because I was going team, and I kind of took Monday off and then, or did like skill stuff maybe on Monday,
Yep.
and then worked out on Sunday with the team. So
Yep.
just Friday,
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday to try to get actual, because all of us that I compete with are full-time employees too. So, you know, that's kind of how you have to do it.
Hmm. Yeah. So when you actually broke your collarbone, was it your collarbone or broke a
This is my
rib?
rib,
Rib,
first
yeah.
rib. Yeah.
So when you broke your rib in 2017, did you feel like all that work that you built up from like training and getting ready for the games and stuff was kind of like almost a waste because you broke your collarbone, broke your rib?
Um, Not really. I think going into like after that, I was just like thankful I could still move.
Hmm.
Cause I don't know, like if anyone's ever broken a rib before, it's extremely painful to cough, to sneeze. I couldn't even like lay straight back because like just like my muscles pulling on and I was so guarded. Um, And so after the first couple of weeks, and me being a physical therapist, I'm like, oh, like it was kind of a weird pain. I was like, it's probably just my shoulder. I did something. I was having like some people at work kind of look at me. Um, and they're like, I don't really know. And so finally I went and saw a doctor, and I got an x-ray, and they were like, I mean, it was like, it was not a good break. It was bad. And they're like, yeah, this is why you've been in pain. And I was like, okay. I was like, so what can I do? And he's like, basically for the first, like, or then, cause I was like probably 3 weeks, I finally went and saw him. He's like, basically for the next 3 weeks, don't elevate your heart rate over like 110. So I'd sit on the assault bike and just pedal, or I'd do some air squats or some lunges, or I couldn't do anything with my arms. Then I went back and saw him, and he's like, okay, you can, increase your heart rate a little bit, but like I still only want you doing, stuff that doesn't bother you at all. So, it kind of changed my mindset a little bit. And honestly, I think as a professional, it really, I had like, I have, shoulder issues and whatnot growing up, and in college swimming, but it was always stuff I could work through. And I might have been in pain, but I could do it. But this was like the first time where like I couldn't do it because it just hurt. And the doctor's like, your rib's not going to heal if you keep pulling on things. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So honestly, as a professional, it was really good because I got put in my patient's shoes a little bit and actually really learned from it. And so, everything happens for a reason. And I think that year I just kind of realized like, this is where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to learn how to be a better physical therapist. And then, from there, like I just was, every time I could add something back in and it didn't hurt, I was just excited, so.
Yeah. So I've never broken a rib, but I've had the weirdest injury ever. So I was playing lacrosse and I got hit in the chest. And so the cartilage that's connected to my sternum to the ribs popped off, like popped out. And so there's like a little bruise, like right there. And like all the, sports trainers at my college were like showing everybody, like all like the interns and stuff like that. You're like, you see this, like this will never happen. Like you'll never see this in your career.
Yeah.
So
no, that I've never seen. I've known people that have done that, but I've never seen it. So that's crazy.
Yeah, and it hurts so bad.
You probably can't elevate your heart rate because anytime you like expand your chest, it hurts. So
yeah, and like I had like roommates who were pretty funny too, and so like I like laughing, I literally had to run out of the room. I'm like, I can't laugh, like you can't do that to me. So, but so in 2019, you actually qualified as an individual through Wadapalooza. So what was the feeling that you actually like broke through and actually made it to the games?
So I didn't actually, so that was the year that they did the open still. So there was all the sanctionals. They did the open in March still, or February and March. And so Wadapalooza was in January, and I didn't actually get my official invite until June. But I kind of knew after the open that I would that year I kind of just resigned to like, I work full time. I can maybe do 2 sanctionals. Like I know I'm not going to qualify through the open. I'm not strong enough. Like that one lift always like knocks me down every year, and it's fine. Like that's just what it is. I'm going to score, I'm going to eat a bunch of points on the lift. So I knew I wouldn't qualify out of the open. So it was just one of those things, as like the open kept going, like Morning Chocolate had just started like, writing then, and they like posted an article. They're like, if the open, it was after the first week, it's like, if the open stays as where it is, like Taylor Streid would qualify from Wadapalooza, and I would get 9th. And I was like, wait, what? And so at that point I was like, oh, so then, week 5, I'm like watching the leaderboard like crazy. And it didn't actually happen there. It happens. They needed Tasia Persevich needed to go team, which we knew she was. I actually messaged her. That was like the first time I reached out to her. I was like, I just like want to know, like, are you for sure going team? Because I need this person, and so it was kind of anticlimactic. It was one of those things where like, I knew in May that I was most likely, I knew in May I had the invite. I emailed CrossFit. I was like, I work full time. I got to ask for the time off. Like, can we make this official? And they're like, we're not making it official until all this semifinal or sanctionals are done. And so I was like, okay, but they're like, but basically you have the invite. I was like, okay, great. So it was kind of, like I said, kind of anticlimactic, but honestly, like, I wasn't expecting to make the games because I was like, I can't win a semifinal or sanctional, and I'm not going to get out of the open. But we didn't realize like how much the leaderboard could shift,
Yeah, and that was a weird year about like like I think that was the year like Patrick Vellner had like no idea like how he qualified for the games. It was either the
Yeah.
open or like a sanctional. And it was like the whole thing was just like, oh, you can get it here, or like it was almost like a playoff series. Like, you ever seen like football, like if this team loses
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
wins, or makes a
Yeah.
tie, they make it in, you're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it was super confusing. But it was one of those things. Like I said, it was just like, oh, okay, great. Like now, now what? But
Yeah, yeah.
I was kind of already training harder at that point because we like knew it was like a pretty strong possibility. So
Yeah. So, when did you realize you wanted to switch from comp train to go to Mayhem?
the reason I did that is so in 2019 for the 2020 season they put the open in the fall,
Mhm.
and so I at that point I was doing it was in the middle of the open. I think it was after like the second week, and Kristen Miller, who was on Mayhem Independence in 2018, in 2019, she like reached out to me on Instagram, and we were both from Illinois, so we'd done a couple like local competitions together, and I
Yep.
like and she was like, "Hey, we're looking for a second girl for Independence. Would you like want to join the team?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay." And so we couldn't do anything. She's like, let's wait till after the open, like let that all play out. And then, come down to Mayhem and see if, we'd be a good fit. And I was like, all right, great. And I got there and literally, because at Royce, Dunn was on the team, and then Chase Hill and Kristen and myself. And Royce like sent us, like we had been texting a little bit beforehand, and he like sent a message like when I got down there. He's like, well, sad like I can't be there, but would you guys want to do the qualifiers for the Australian CrossFit Challenge? And I was like, I mean, you guys want me on your team? They're like, yeah, sure, like whatever. Like I had met them for like 30 seconds, and they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, let's do it. And I was like, okay, guess I'm doing it. So I mean, that's why I switched. It wasn't like I was upset with anything, but I really, especially for team, like I think Mayhem is definitely the best programming. Obviously, they know what they're doing. They've done it for years, and they've been at the top of the sport for years. And so that's just kind of why we fell into that. And that's it wasn't like I was upset with anything. It was just like, hey, I'm on Mayhem Independence. Like obviously, I'm gonna do Mayhem programming. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, supposedly you're supposed to call it the Mayhem Empire.
the Mayhem Empire, yeah.
So I've actually had Royce Dunn on the podcast, and like I'm obviously like he's a bigger individual. I'm a bigger individual, so I root for him. So,
Mhm.
what was it like training with Royce and like Chase and like the rest of the team?
So the first weekend so Royce came um over for Wadapalooza, and he was here for like 2 weeks before that. And then we were like flying basically like almost right after to Australia. And so I went down to Mayhem before. I'd gone to Mayhem a couple times with just Chase and Kristen, and then I honestly like I was not a team athlete at that point. I was still a very individual athlete. I didn't realize like the difference between the two sports. It really is like there's a huge difference, and instead of like I need to pace this workout to myself. It's like I need to like sprint this so they can get on, and then I need to recover, and like I need to do a big set of toe to bar, so we have less transitions, and like there's all these things that like you just had never like thought about before. And so the first couple of times I trained with Kristen and Chase, they're like, okay, you got to change how you train, and I was like, okay, so it was like a big transition, and like realizing like, okay, I'm gonna do 20 toe, it's like 40 toe to bar. I'm gonna do 20 toe to bar, and then I'm gonna rest longer than I would normally rest, and I'm gonna do a second set of 20 toe to bar, because you would have with teammates, you can do that.
Yep.
And so when I finally got to train with Royce, I actually felt like a little bit more of a team athlete. But I mean, Royce is just larger than life, and so he's just that person that like infuses so much energy into everything that you do. And we were using like the worm a little bit before, but we were just using like a random person, we like whoever at Mayhem, or Chase brought one of his guy friends a couple of times and stuff. And when we got Royce on the worm in the front of the worm, it was like, wow, this worm was really easy,
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like basically like he was never the tired one on the worm. He was like, let's keep going. I'm like, so it was one of those things. But he always debriefs before the workout, during the workout, and after workout. He's always jibber jabbering and keeping things light, and he's an awesome teammate.
Yeah. So when you guys were working the worm, so like, Would you have Royce go into the back or like the middle or like just to
He's
kind of
always like that.
always in the front? Because that's like the hardest. That's the
He
hardest
doesn't
part
get
of
a
the worm.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what was it because what was it what was it like training at Mayhem with like all these you see like all these like crazy athletes, see Rich, Tasia and all these other like superstars. Like were you like starstruck at all like when you were there?
Um, I, at first, yes, but like only for like 5 minutes because I literally walked in and like I was a part of the crew. Like they are probably the most welcoming people. And that's something that also like just makes you like love to be a part of the Mayhem family because
Hmm.
there's not an outsider in the crew. It doesn't matter your fitness level, honestly. It truly doesn't matter. It's so cool to be in that environment. And I think like the second time I was there, Rich was like, "Hey, my back's really been bothering me. Can you work on it?" It's just like a very like they don't care. They're down to earth. They are these incredible athletes, but um, they don't care. They just want if you want to show up and work hard, they're happy to have you there.
Yeah. And so you guys actually made it to go to the games
Mhm.
and all of a sudden like COVID hit too.
Yeah.
So like what were your feelings like going through and like, all right, we're going to the games, but now COVID hit and so we're not going to go.
So you kind of kept holding out hope that something was going to happen. And then Mayhem tried to put on a competition too that was just a team competition. And so, try to hold out hope. And then CrossFit Games came out and said that they were going to try to do an individual, but teams were out. So then Mayhem was like, we're going to do a team event. But I think just logistically trying to get everybody there that was supposed to be there was just impossible, even from us from a standpoint of like, there's no way Royce was going to make it over to the US from Australia. They were so locked down and,
Yeah.
but I probably held out hope until like the middle of June that something might happen.
Yep.
Um, and then after that though, like I had trained really hard that year and like, changed kind of how I was training. And so then I was like, okay, I can like chill for a little bit. And honestly, it was a huge bummer because, you work so hard and I mean, we had an awesome opportunity to be, one of the top teams at the games, which would have just been so cool. But it wasn't there, but it was a good summer. Like I still had a great summer. My family has a lake house in the middle of nowhere and, spent a lot of time out there and things that honestly from like 2018, 2019, even last year, I didn't get to do. So again, everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, it
Yep.
hurts a little bit, but it was, I can't complain.
Yeah. So were you staying in Tennessee the whole time?
No, I just would I'd probably go like once a month or maybe once every 3 weeks and train.
Okay.
I was still working full time. So
Yeah.
we would take off, I would work like 4 10s or close to that. And then my fiance and I would leave Thursday night and we drive halfway, a little bit more. So it's about 6 hours, a little less than 6 hours. So we drive maybe like 3.5, 4 hours, stay in a hotel, and then we would get up and drive and so we could train at the barn at like 9 on Friday morning. So
Yeah, that's cool. So they didn't want to keep you on as like a full-time like, physical therapist for the Mayhem Empire?
it's one of those things where no, but I mean, they never asked, but honestly, like it wasn't expected of me to be there. Obviously, Royce is in Australia, so you can't like our team was never going to be able to train all that much together. It was just more like communicating outside of training and keeping each other accountable and giving each other ideas for workouts and things like that. So
Yeah. So after that, you actually came back to, working, being at a team for Blue City CrossFit. So, because the
mhm.
affiliate cup. So, how, like, from all of the stuff you've learned from Mayhem, like working on the team and stuff like that, um, how did you transition, like, all that information you learned to the new team that you have?
I mean, it was kind of interesting because at Mayhem, I was like the follower, right? Like I was just trying to absorb everything and soak everything in. And when we decided we were going to go team in 2021, it was one of those things where like my fiance was like, "You are the leader now. Like you have to instill all of this knowledge that you have in your brain, and really like if you want this team to be successful, like that's what you have to do." So my role completely changed from that standpoint. And it was just like, little things or tips I learned on the worm, or again, just changing how you train and realizing, it's just different and it's going to feel different and understanding that. And like I said, I had to become the leader to help that. And it was cool. It was fun. But I definitely had to step outside of my shell. Like I'm probably a little more like reserved from that standpoint, but like I had to be the loud one,
And were people like during the team, but like you became more of the loud one? They were like, "Whoa, like where is this coming from?"
No, I don't think so. I mean, I would say like, the people I'm close to, I'm, loud enough. But honestly, like we really, honestly, the past 2 years that I've done team, I've been so blessed with the people that, and part of it's our community at our gym. Like we're just a bunch of hardworking people that just want to get better, and really like whatever information like I have to share, they're willing to take. Whatever they have to share, I'm willing to take. And it's just one of those things where like it's easy, which not all team. I know that's not the normal all the time,
Hmm.
but I've never had a bad experience from that. So
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Now, you guys obviously didn't qualify for this year's games. So, what were your feelings like when you guys didn't make it?
um it was hard. It's one of
Yeah.
those things where you put so much time and effort into it. And we had such a dream season last year, qualifying at West Coast and, going to the games and like, I mean, just truly being able to enjoy every second of it. That obviously you want to repeat it. Like, why wouldn't you want to repeat that? But it was one of those things where I knew on our fifth workout, we did not do well. And, going into day 3, we were sitting in 7th, but the spread between like 3rd and 7th was like 30 points. So like, that's like totally doable.
Yeah.
Um, we got out there for the 5th workout and we just bombed. It was not good. And we were the last ones on the floor. I think we took 11th, but we were the last ones on the floor in the last heat. And I was standing out there and I realized like our games was done. And that was probably the hardest moment of the weekend because it sucked. But it was kind of nice because at least it happened on the 5th workout. It didn't happen on the 6th workout. Like I think that would have been worse.
Hmm.
Because at least the 5th or the 6th workout we could go out there and like just enjoy it. It's one of those things where like I'm getting married this year. I'm not that I'm old, but I'm 31 and like we'd like to have a family. So, it's kind of one of those things where like I'm not necessarily sure that I'm gonna compete again next year. So I gotta walk out on the floor and like actually soak it all in. I
Yep.
gotta like look up at the stands and see everybody cheering and take like those last couple moments in, which like I said, it sucked, but how it happened, if you're not going to qualify for the games, like I said, I'd rather it be the 5th workout where going to the 6th workout and you can just be like, hey, I'm here, we made it, we're still, I mean, it was a super competitive field. You know, enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yep. Now, you've been to 2 CrossFit games. So, which one has been more memorable for you?
I think they're more memorable. I think they're both the same in a way. The 2019, I learned a lot of lessons on the floor, which sucks because I didn't do well. And
Yeah.
I didn't, the hardest thing of 2019 for me was I was in the best shape of my life and I didn't get to show it off. Like I made more mental errors than I did physical. I mean, there were physical errors too, but it was mentally is why I made them. And so that was the hard part. I only got to do the first day. I did the first 2 workouts and then I got cut. Um, and like that sucked,
Yeah.
but it was honestly, it's what I needed to become a better athlete. And it's one of those things too, where it's like, I learned so much from it. I got to see, that was the first, I mean, I had a huge team up in Madison to cheer me on. Everyone got to be there for me. And it was really cool to like see that experience and like be in that environment. And
Yep.
we had probably like 20 plus people. It was probably almost 30 people up there to see me, like how cool is that? But last year first off was super cool because I actually got my moment to qualify for the games. In 19 I didn't really, it was anticlimactic. 20 we got shut out of the games, and then last year I got that moment and like being on the floor. It was really cool. We got to do the first 3 days. We got cut for the last day, but that was, I mean, just being on the floor with 3 people that you worked. I mean, so much time and effort and sweat and tears and everything went into that. And it's just, I mean, it was a totally different experience and we had a great experience. But probably just as memorable, just from a standpoint of everything that goes into it. And each, I think each game's experience is always unique. And there's always, a gajillion positives you can learn from it. So
Yeah. So how much like I've talked to some people, so they got like so much like noble gear that they barely couldn't even like bring their stuff like back home. So like, was that you guys' issue too?
yeah, so actually, my fiance qualified last year in the Masters division,
Okay.
and then it was myself and the other teammate Mara on my team, and then him. And so we went up there in the same car, and we're like, okay, we like can only take so much stuff because we knew we were getting more stuff.
Hmm.
Coming back, we had to stuff um, Teddy, our videographer that does a podcast with us and stuff. We stuffed his car full of our stuff and then had my car stuffed full of crap. Like it was insane. We walked out of there. We had 2 duffel bags. You had a backpack. I mean, there's so much stuff, and it was Christmas in July. July. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine like I'd be so geeking out. I'm like, oh my God,
Oh yeah.
I got this, I got a jacket, I got like shoes, I got all
Well,
this
and on
stuff.
top of that, you get all the sponsors give you all their stuff too.
Yeah. And so who sponsors you right now?
Nobody.
Nobody? Okay. So wow, during the games, like who did sponsor you?
We didn't have any sponsors. I'm just saying like all the sponsors that
Oh,
game.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
like you get, CBD, you get Quail rings, you get junk headbands, you get whatever. You get a ton of stuff on top of that. You get grips, you get a belt, you get goes on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I hear you. So we're getting close to the end. So I've kind of noticed that you guys have like a little track, like you go to the games one year, you miss, and then go to the games again, and then you miss, and then. So I know you say you're like getting older in age. So do you think you might be taking another run at it next year? I know you were talking about getting married and having a family. Like, what would, make you kind of like say like, okay, let me give it another shot?
um, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of what I like said. Like, so we'll see, get married and just like let what happens. If I'm not pregnant next year, I'll probably make a run at it, run at it. But if I am, like, I mean, we still have extremely fit people at our gym. Like, I would love to coach them. So,
Okay. Yeah.
you know,
Hey, whatever works. Yeah, that's awesome.
either way, and I'm really happy that I got the experience I had last year because I'm okay leaving that being my last experience on the games floor, or potentially. I have no idea. It could happen
Mhm.
again. I
Yeah.
could get pregnant, have a kid, and put a team together again too. I don't know, but I'm okay with that being my last experience if that is.
Hmm.
But you know, yeah, I don't know. I'm just letting what happens and just kind of going with the flow. And come like January, if I'm not pregnant, like let's make a run at it.
Yeah. So I know we before the recording we talked about the wedding. So
Mhm.
you're having like a smaller group. So like where's your wedding gonna be at? Like I'm
Uh,
not saying the location, but is it gonna be like a barn or church or anything like that?
no, so we're from St. Louis. We live in St. Louis, I guess I should say. I'm not from St. Louis. But we're getting married in California. So we're doing a destination wedding. It's at an area called Temecula, which is a
Okay.
little wine region. And we're just doing like, well, I thought it'd be about 50. I think it'll be close to 60 or 70 people. Everyone that we've invited has basically been like, yeah, we'd love to come. I think a lot of people are going to use it as vacation, like
Hmm.
come out before or stay later or whatever. So we're gonna have a full crew, and it's one of those things where there's a lot more that goes into planning than I realized, and there's a lot of people you have to appease, and a lot of varying opinions, and one of the biggest issues I'm actually having is getting people to respond to emails. So
Yep.
it is what
Um,
it is.
so
Just trying to take it day by day.
yeah, so we actually had a horror story in our wedding. So
Oh no.
so the DJ was my fellow coworker at the hospital up in Boston. So we got married on the lake that we lived in New Hampshire. And like literally like, you could see from the venue our house from where
Yeah.
the lake was. And so they like we took Friday, it was on a Friday, and he's like, I will be there 3 hours early just to make sure everything's okay, the setup's all right and all that stuff. Well, there was a huge traffic accident on the highway just to getting
No.
up to New Hampshire. So he was late to the whole ceremony. So we had to get the DJ from the next ceremony over because they split the hall in two for
Oh
like
my
one
God.
wedding. So
Yeah.
we got the DJ to literally go like, do the whole ceremony and stuff like that. Like her
Yeah.
brother-in-law almost had to buy an iPad just to kind of play
Oh
the
my
music and all
gosh.
this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they finally showed up. They made it to the venue, and his associate was like he said my last name wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah, so he said like he was introducing my parents, and he says
Yeah.
like, and my name's Lennon, and he's like, oh, we want to welcome Tom and Mary Lynn on,
Oh gosh.
and so my father-in-law turns around, he's like, are you effing serious? And
He
then
was like just one thing after another.
yeah, and then all of a sudden my niece went missing for some reason. Like
Oh
come to
no.
and she was like I think it was like 7 at the time, or like younger than that. And so we're like literally running around the whole venue to try to find her. And come to find out she had to go to the bathroom and just like went to the bathroom and didn't tell anybody.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I mean that was the only bad thing that happened. So
Fingers crossed.
yeah. Hopefully you have a good DJ.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
So
I mean, that's part of it too. We're literally like not meeting anyone. I'm just like, sure, book it. It's fine.
yeah, be
'Cause,
careful with that. Be careful with that.
I know. I mean, it's nice now because you've got like all these sites, that, reviews and stuff. And honestly, my venue has got a lot of like recommended people, and you're just hoping for the best. So
Okay. All right. That's good. So we're getting close to the end. So I have a couple like rapid fire questions for you.
all
So
right.
I really don't I call them rapid fire, but they take longer than, a couple minutes.
Okay.
But anyway, what do you have? Do you have any goals for like the rest of the year other than getting married for like, personal or fitness wise?
Um, well, this is kind of random, but I want to get my CSCS because in the state of Missouri, which is Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, the state of Missouri, we don't yet have direct access for physical therapy, so I can technically not do like personal training under my license, or my practice act. So that's something that I want to do just to be able to. I'm not L1 certified in CrossFit or anything like that, but just be able to like have a little more freedom outside of working in the clinic.
Hmm.
So,
So like, why wouldn't you want to get your L1?
um, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I actually do want to get my L1. That's not one of those things. I just think it's, I think easier with the profession of physical therapy with the CSCS. You know what I mean? It's one of those
Yeah.
things where trying to kind of make sure I fall into that like practice act and everything.
Yeah. And also I've come to realize that like a lot of companies don't really like the L1, like having an L1 certification when they do like, personal training or anything like that.
I mean, the stupid thing is like my like doctor of physical therapy means way more than a CSCS, but it, one of those things you have to have a stupid thing on paper. So
Yep. Yep. It completely makes sense. No, not really. So,
yeah, exactly.
so what is your favorite book you like to read or give out to a gift to people?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
The CSCS manual?
No, definitely not. Honestly, probably my favorite books are Harry Potter.
Okay. Okay.
I don't really I've never given out a book to anyone recently, so I can't really think of that. But I love Harry Potter, and I like growing up. I was kind of like the exact age. I think like the first book came out when I was like 8 or 9, and my mom read that to me. And then as we would like get older, like we read all the books, and my brother and I would fight over who got to read the book first, and don't tell me anything. But as like Harry Potter got older, like it was the exact same like ages that I was like aging, so it was kind of like perfect.
Yeah, I was a lot older when that came out. I think I think I was like I was in my 20s when that came out. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
like brought it up to one of my kiddos at the clinic the other day, and they're like, "Oh, I've never even read Harry Potter." I was like, "How have you not read Harry Potter?"
Yeah.
But I was like, it's totally a generational thing.
Yeah, I always date myself with like 80s movies. I'll do like a one-liner from like Coming to America, and like everyone like I work with are like, what is that from? And I was like, oh my gosh, how do you not know that? And so I'm like, wait a second, I'm 40. So that's why. And they're like in their 20s.
Yeah.
So our next question. So what is in your gym bag?
Oh gosh. Everything. Lots of smelly things. My lifters, my weightlifting belt, my regular shoes, grips. I guess that's really it. I have a knee sleeve for rope climbs. I don't wear knee sleeves normally though.
Do you have like anything like weird or random that's in there?
I always have an extra pair of contacts. Always.
Okay.
I'm like terrified at like a competition that I'm going to lose a contact and I am not going to be able to compete. I'm blind without them. So
Okay.
not really blind,
You,
but
you
you
could,
know,
yeah, you didn't want to wear glasses while you like lifting and stuff like that, or like running around.
no, definitely.
All right. So this one we're gonna go a little deep. So this is your last, like pretend this is your last day on earth. You're lying in bed and having like all your friends and family around you. How do you want people to know you as?
I just want them to know me as a hard worker that genuinely loves what she does and those people around her.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome. So where can people reach out to you if they have any questions with like PT, CrossFit, or like working as a team, or like pretty much anything?
Honestly, probably Instagram's the easiest. That's what I'm on the most. I don't have really any other social media, so that's probably the easiest. I mean, I through my work is probably going to be way harder to actually get a hold directly to me than because I work for a big corporation. So probably my Instagram's the easiest place there.
Okay. And are you looking to grow your YouTube channel?
Oh, I mean, I guess so, but we have not done anything with that recently. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
again one of those things where we actually did pretty good with it last year, and then this has been a busy year.
Yeah.
Engaged, trying to qualify for the games, trying to plan a wedding. I've been super busy at work, which is good and bad. So
Hmm.
just busy.
Yeah. I love the intro when you were saying like, yeah, like all these other CrossFit athletes are doing a YouTube channel, so I might as well do one too. So
Yeah, exactly.
so well, I just wanted to thank you for coming on my show and talking about your story and like about you being the CrossFit Games and talk about the wedding and all that stuff. And so thank
Thanks
you
for
for your
having
time
me.
for doing it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Don't hang up yet. So
I know.
okay, I'm just making sure. I had one person do that to me, so I was just like, no, wait, 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 wait.